All right, well, I want to welcome everyone to the eLearning Special Interest Group. We're really excited to kick off today's session. So welcome and thank you for joining us. This group will be meeting on the first Thursday of the month. This session and the August session will be webinars, and then the following sessions will be classroom or face-to-face sessions held at the beautiful HDR campus. Today's session will be presented by Michael Merritt. The topic is going to be Build Highly Interactive E-Learning Courses with Articulate 360, which includes Storyline. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge when it comes to e-learning and experience, please don't hesitate to contact me. My name's Melody. I think in the follow-up emails you'll get from me, you'll get my address and everything like that. So if there are specific issues that you'd like to tackle this fall, we welcome your ideas. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with today's session. So I'm going to turn it back over to Michael.
All right, thank you. Thank you everybody for joining us today as we kind of regroup and resurrect this group after a couple years. Some of you I know were a part of the group a few years ago, so a lot of discussions with the ATD chapter, and Melody jumped in to kind of lead the charge to get us back going. So it's good timing. There's a lot of new people in the e-learning area in Omaha and Lincoln, so happy to have you all here today. For those of you on the list I don't know, my name is Michael Merritt. I'm the e-learning development manager here at HDR. We're an architecture and engineering firm in Omaha, and I'm the way past president of the ATD Nebraska and the ATD Lincoln chapter. And then I was also at ATD National Advisor for Chapters even more years ago. So if you're not an ATD member, we're still happy to have you here. We hope you'll see some benefits from ATD and membership, so at least on the local level where we offer this kind of events and programming. So I have a few folks from our design team here at HDR that's also on because I'm going to showcase some of their work. So Susan Olson, who's our senior e-learning developer, and Brittany Osborne, who's on the line as well, who's our instructional designer. I'm going to showcase some of the work they've done in the new Articulate 360. Let's have a show of hands if you want to raise your hand in the go-to menu bar. How many of you have Articulate 360? Do we have anybody that's currently using it? Melissa and Sarah are looking at it. Okay. How many have used Articulate Storyline as an e-learning development tool? And we got a couple there too. All right. So this will be a little bit of an introduction for some of you and maybe a recap or maybe find some things that you didn't know about for those that have used it. On the screen, I have the Articulate 360 menu. This is pretty much where you start everything from with Articulate, the 360 program. We looked at this last year when it came out and saw quite a bit of benefits in it. The number one thing that most people say is it's a little bit expensive, and it is a little over $1,000 a year for the license. But what I'm going to show you today, it comes with a lot of attributes and resources built into that. We're fortunate enough that we have Storyline and Captivate and Camtasia here. Basically what we did to offset our cost is we're not going to update Captivate every year because we're finding that we've moved away from mostly an Adobe Captivate group to moving to more of an Articulate group. So it's been a better product and a little easier for our other people on the team that don't have a design background or a e-learning background to learn. So that's part of our reason, and then we'll show you a lot of the resources in here that really kind of helped cement our decision to get everybody on board with it on our team. So with 360, you've got a number of different products here. So you have Storyline 360, which if you've used Articulate Storyline before is our e-learning development tool. We have Studio 360, and some of you may remember some of these from the old versions of Articulate. Let me click the open button here. You'll see that it comes with Presenter, Quizmaker, and Engage. So some of the older Articulate products are actually packaged into this. They used to be sold separately from Articulate Storyline, but they had a lot of the same features and same attributes. So that's really the only interesting part about 360. we probably don't use these three very much to hardly at all because Storyline does a lot of this for you. So it's all packaged in one tool. So they do include these. You can actually put these out into PowerPoints and different tools. So you're really getting two different e-learning suites in one with 360. Oops, I clicked off my menu. We've got Replay 360, Peak, which is our video recording piece, Rise, which we're going to highlight a piece that Brittany's put together for our feedback course, Articulate Review, which I think in our group probably is the number one selling piece of this. It enables you to share a course that you're working on and get feedback slide by slide, and we'll show one that Susan has sent out to our group that we're working on, so that you can really see how nice of a review tool it is. Captivate in the past had tried it, but if you were working on a networked drive, a lot of times it didn't work right. You couldn't really do that slide by slide feedback really well. Articulate really did it well on this one, so we'll highlight that. We've got the content library. We'll show you just a little bit of the content that comes with this. It's more than any of the tools we've seen in a while. And then we'll highlight Articulate Live, which is all free training that's included. There's a webinar probably every 2 to 3 days on some aspect of Articulate 360. So that's coming from Tom Kuhlman and David in the group, right from Articulate. So you're getting great training from the experts firsthand. And then I don't have Prezzo downloaded, but it's actually what that is down the bottom there. If you can kind of see the contrast there, it says iPad. Prezzo is an app that you can actually download for iPad, and you can actually design and develop kind of on a minimal scale, not to the feature level that you do with a full Articulate. But you can actually start and design some and share that from a mobile device. So one piece to look at as well. I've already got 360 open here in the background, and I've got 3 courses that I'm going to highlight that Susan and I have worked on. We're not going to dive deep into how these are built because obviously we have about 40 minutes to discuss and then some time for you guys to do Q&A. What Melody and I talked about is, we'll do a high-level introduction today. If we want to get deep into how things are built, we can do those in some of our face-to-face meetings. That way we're all there in the room and can really interact and show how we build some of these. And for the others that use Articulate, you can chime in and help us show some of what you've done as well. Our first one is a timekeeping course that we've developed, and you can see our main storyline here it's a pretty short course. It's 12 slides. This is kind of an edutainment piece is what we call it. We try to force that label out and call it micro-learning, as most of you probably heard it, just because it gives a little bit more relevance to it in our LNOD world. But I just wanted to point out, turn my mouse off, some of the features here. The number one thing with Articulate Storyline is if you know PowerPoint, you can easily learn Storyline. You'll see that your ribbon, your menu bar, your navigation, everything up here is really based off of Microsoft Office, and it's very similar to PowerPoint. So when you're looking to insert different items, pictures, shapes, video into your slides, it's all very recognizable if you know PowerPoint. There's a few little things like hotspots and inputs and some of those that are more e-learning focused, but it's very easy to learn how to develop in the tool. Just going through here, you'll see a lot of these that are real kind of recognizable from PowerPoint. On the animation side, there's maybe not as much flexibility as what PowerPoint gives you. They do offer some animation pieces that you can put into your slides, but it's not quite to the level of what PowerPoint and some of the complexity that it gives you. Excuse me. So very similar to PowerPoint, what we have is a lot of our animated pieces we have our graphics team help us with, and they'll create animated graphics that we turn into an MP4 and put right on the screen for a lot of our pieces. We've had a lot of people like that. A lot of good comments and reviews about the content and just the look and feel to it, along with staying within our brand and those kind of things that we have to do. You can see on the screen here, I'm going to move this hotspot box here real quick so you can see a little more color. Storyline offers a lot of nice things for the navigation. So you've got the options for a glossary, notes, a menu. So your learners can either have a lot of flexibility there. If you do closed captioning, if you want to have definitions for terms that might be used. Training world, we love to use acronyms. Great place to do acronyms and their definitions. And it also has a resources tab. And this is one thing we use a lot. So this is a timekeeping course. We've got a couple different policies, the employee handbook that relate to this. So we can actually link directly out to those from that resource tab. So you click on that, takes you right out to it. The old days, we'd have to maybe insert a PDF, and anytime that policy gets changed, you have to go and update it. Whereas with this, it's a link to the site, to the document, a little bit less maintenance, a little bit less work for you as a designer. I'm going to pull this hotspot back up here. The reason each one of these slides has a hotspot on it is because when you throw a video on a slide, you can actually click on that and it can cause some issues with your playback. So we put a hotspot over it that keeps them from the user from being able to click, and that keeps the course playing the way we actually want it to. I'm going to go down and let's just preview a slide here. You can get a little idea of kind of the look and feel. You'll notice in the top right here, you've got different icons. This is responsive. So you can actually click as you're reviewing it to see what it's going to look like on different devices. So we've got an iPad. We've got an iPad up and down. We've got a smaller device like a phone, or the phone up and down, or you can go back to your laptop. So if you are doing mobile and you want to know what your users are going to see, what their experience is going to be like, you do have these options in your review that you can go and see exactly what it's going to look like for them. So most of us know that building for mobile is a little bit different aspect, so you want to make sure you go through these and kind of check that if you are developing for both. So you can see some of the graphics that our graphics team do. Nice animations, clean. I guess I can share audio too if you want to hear some of that. We use voices.com for a lot of our audio. They do professional voiceover and do an awesome job at a pretty decent cost. That is something you have to budget for. But again, we've got our glossary over here. You can see when we click on that, the user can see a definition of each one. And then closed captioning isn't super easy to use quite yet and articulate. We know they're working on a couple variations for that. So we do copy on the slide notes on the side. So anyone with a hearing impairment or anything, they can actually read along as the slide goes. I'm going to close out and go to another one here real quick. This is a code of ethics one that Susan's working on for us right now. You can kind of see we've got a little bit of a branching within Storyline, which Storyline does great for branching a course. If you've got a population of staff where you want one group to get, or all of the groups to get one chunk of info, and then you want to break them off into maybe two different tracks, pretty easy to do. You can do a lot of scenario-based. Susan's really good at doing the scenarios in our e-learning courses. That's what you can kind of see here on the screen is we've got a scenario where we've got our actor, and we do use our own people here at HDR, sharing a situation, and then we've got two experts that she's branched off to who provide advice. What is the ethical thing to do, or what is the maybe not ethical thing to do, and then brings them back to what should be done. So Articulate does a really good job of branching, and we have this multiple times through the course, and that gives a little bit better feel to it. But let's Poor Brian has his eyes closed on this one too.
You can ask experts for their opinions of the situations. When you're ready, go to the next page.
So here's part of that branching that is talked about. We can click and watch a video here from our marketing specialist, or we can go here for our ethics specialist. So kind of a helpful little piece. Oh, I'm not linked to the videos. I didn't copy them over. If I copied the videos over.
You just previewed the screen.
Oh, that's true.
You have to preview the scene.
So I have to preview the scene. That's why I have Susan in here, because she knows this better. So we can have videos play from each, and then as the course goes on, he makes his decision. But that's where that branching comes through. Again, we've got notes that highlight what the video says. Resources, we do have a link out to the Ethics and Compliance website if they want more information there, so they can go out and follow up there. So that is kind of one of the highlights for us that we really like, is it really does a great job in branching. Video, we do use a lot of video. This is a video from our CEO,
Welcome to our
current CEO.
2017 ethics training. This year's approach is different than in the
Very
past,
clean,
but we're
good
still very
playback
serious about this
through our
topic.
LMS, through our
I'm sure you've witnessed
intranets.
the continuing growth of our ethics and compliance program. This growth is driven by our board's commitment to doing the right thing.
And we do all of this in-house. We're fortunate to have a video and photography team that are very good at what they do. So they do a lot of the video for us, editing for us, and we're able to use those in our courses. So we like to have that CEO or high-level manager introduction that really reinforces that topic we're trying to get across to staff. And the next one. This is our vehicle use policy course, safe driving in the workplace. Wanted to show this one. Susan's got some good kind of interaction pieces in here. Of course, I picked the biggest slide here. Again, you can see we've just moved it over to the right side, but we still have the notes, the menu, the glossary, the resources, some nice just kind of interaction pieces here to share information, not just reading through and through and through like we do in a lot of old courses. Again, we've got our interaction up here so we can see what this is going to look like if they're looking at on a cell phone, mobile phone. What are some of those touch points for them as they go through the course? And then this one is also branched out. So I'm going to go back to story view. The nice thing here is you can see your individual slides, and sometimes it'll get a little confusing. Actually, you'll have a ton of tabs open up here while you're going through working on individual slides. You actually can close those, and it'll take you back to the main story view. And then you can see we've got some different branching in this one as well. Give you a little preview of. Let's go back to the computer view. And you can see a lot of this is kind of simple. It's shapes, graphics. Our graphics folks obviously designed the truck for us, but we're starting to work with them to get copies of a lot of these icons that we use so we can reuse those out of a library. Again, same navigation and everything, very similar, so there shouldn't be anything too different for them. But just that little bit different level of engagement and motion in the screen. Doing this in Captivate sometimes can be a little harder. I'm going to close out of that. But you can see when I come back to my main slide. If I want to go back to the full course view, I can close that out and go right to another slide I want to go to. Maybe I just have an update to do. I can scroll right through and go to that. Now on the right side over here, we see triggers and slide properties. The way a lot of these are built have layers. So let's see which ones. For a question here, we've got true and false answers, but after that, if we want to provide feedback, what Susan has done is put in incorrect and correct layers. So down here we have our main base layer. That's your slide that you're on. And then depending on which answer, if they answer it correct or incorrect, they'll get another layer which will provide them some feedback, maybe show a video, maybe show some information, go to a policy or something to review. That's how those are created. And then they've got a continue button that takes them on to the next slide off of that base layer. That's where these triggers come in. So when they click on their, so this one's got a video, play media, you can see here. We've got the hotspot over it. Again, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes if they can click on the video, it'll mess with the playback. That way we eliminate that from happening. But then the actual continue button, when it pops up at the end, they click on that and that's going to take you to the next slide. So that's how the layers work with the triggers that are set up. You can do a lot more with those than you really can in Captivate. These are, I would say, much easier to set up than trying to figure out variables and everything that you have to do in Captivate. So for somebody that's kind of learning this on the go, and a lot of us starting out were probably trainers and then asked, hey, we've got this e-learning thing we want to do. Can you do this? So if you're teaching yourself how to use some of these tools, this is definitely much easier than like the Captivate, a little bit more programming ideas, a little more video knowledge, some of those things for building in Captivate. I'm actually going to close out of Storyline here now, and we're going to go through the rest of our piece here. Studio 360, like I said, Presenter, Quizmaker, and Engage are in here. They're three separate tools that all create different pieces of e-learning. I'm not going to jump into those today. They're pretty easy to use. They've been around quite a long time. So, and like I said, we don't really use these three pieces that much out of the 360 piece. So it's not something we usually jump into to use because really you can do all of it in Storyline. So I would say that's where you want to kind of keep your focus at. Open up Replay here. So Replay works with recording your screen. Little similar to Camtasia, not near the I guess horsepower or options that you would find in Camtasia. It's if you're doing something quick and you just want to do something rapid and throw it into a course, this is a nice little tool. It does have some little options, little variable options for you. Working that with there we go. With Peak, the actual recorder lets you edit some of those recordings that you might do on the fly. So if you can't afford both tools, we usually recommend Camtasia's the kind of the best screen recording tool if you're capturing screen recordings. This is a good second option if you can't afford that or don't have that tool. It does come with Storyline. It does give you a few options here that you can put into your course. Probably one of the easiest things for this is, if you're maybe teaching somebody where to go to on a website, internal website or something, and instead of, spelling it out text-wise, you can do a short little recording, show how to get there, and then insert that into your course. This is a decent tool for that. Close out of there. Peak, like I said, is your recording option. When you open it, this is your entire window, and it doesn't want to let me move it for some reason. You've got a couple little preferences you can actually do with it, which is basically which keys you want to use to start or pause it. But otherwise, once you click on Peak and start recording, it's recording the whole screen. And then when you're done, like I said, you can go back into Replay and edit that a little bit. But really, it's a tool that comes with it. Probably the one area that Articulate might want to spend more time on developing to really truly make this an independent piece for it. So that's a good little screen capture piece if you need it. Let's go down into the web pieces, and let's start with Rise. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. Oh, you know what? This gave me problems yesterday. Yeah. Okay. Have you had this problem?
Every time. Well. Well, I haven't had that problem.
Yeah, it did this to me yesterday, and I couldn't get around it for some reason, so I need to put a ticket into that. So I won't be able to log into Rise, but we're going to highlight Brittany's feedback course here. So this is a course that Brittany created in Rise for our feedback course here at HDR that she just launched. Rise is a simple way to explain it is if you don't have web design skills background, know just enough to be dangerous, this is a great tool. And what Brittany's done with this, we're really going to kind of showcase this because the cool piece about this is if you have an LMS and say you need this to be tracked, this is also SCORM compliant. You can publish it out to SCORM 1.2 and I think 2.4. And those can go into your LMS. And when a person completes the entire piece, it'll track just like Articulate, Storyline would, or Captivate would, or any of your other e-learning courses. So just kind of show some detail of what she's done here. The navigation and just kind of the overall movement that Rise does is really pretty nice. You can see we've got some great graphics from our graphics folks. But I'm going to start the course here. And you'll see it takes me right into our Getting Started page. You can input just about anything on a Rise page. So Brittany's got a PDF file here with some instructions and an exercise. We'll show some videos that you can put into, hyperlinks. I mean, you can put quite a bit of content into this. And it's not that typical linear e-learning course. This really provides a lot of great opportunities for interaction, engagement, feedback. You can do, I think you can do blogs on this. So there's a lot of different communication pieces with this as well that you just don't get from a typical e-learning course. So as we kind of scroll through here, you can see she's got her steps laid out. Very detailed instructions as to the different pieces or different exercises you need to do as you're going through. Click into lesson 2. Nice little interactive piece instead of just having it there. Make them search for the info a little bit. We'll go down to lesson 3. Again, more directions. What are they doing in this section? Content. We've got feedback. We've got definitions. And I'm going to keep going down here a little ways. This is a nice little interactive activity, kind of like flashcards. So what's the difference between formal and informal feedback? A little drag and drop option here. And if I get it wrong, you can see it goes back up and makes them rethink about that. Place it back into the correct box. And you can do these kind of things in Storyline. But I think just the way this is laid out, it's got a really nice feel to it. And I forgot this won't let me go until I complete it. So you can put some limitations on here. I can't move forward in the course yet until I get through these and get these correct. I should probably pay attention or it'll go a lot faster. All right. Then you can see I got 9 out of 12 correct. If they want to go back and redo it, they can actually go back and if they feel they didn't capture or gain the knowledge, they can go back and go through that interactivity, or they can move on to the next session. So that you can lock this down to force your learners to go through everything or you can open it up if you want so they can self-navigate and go through the different lessons. The great thing about this, and you can kind of do it in an e-learning course, but it tells me where I'm at. So I know that I'm 35% complete right now with these 5 different sections. I'm on to activity 4. What's coming next? I can kind of see what I've got coming yet to work on. But it's very simple. It's very clean. Like we said, it hosts video. You can do video in here. Quality-wise, just as good as YouTube or anything else that you might use. And we embedded these. I think you can link out to them as well, but we embedded because with YouTube, you never know, what suggested videos are coming up or advertising or anything. So we embedded these for Brittany and made them look a little cleaner. But you can see quality-wise, and hopefully for you, it looks like it's going okay. But a great way to include, different media sources. You could do audio as well. Scroll through these a little bit. Nice piece here, reference if you want to go watch the whole video, then go out to YouTube and watch from there. So again, a couple of nice little interactive pieces. Get some thinking while they're going through. An additional video. And then a little bit of a different video layout. I wanted to show this as well. You can have a knowledge check here, watch video 1 or video 2, provide an answer as to what you think might be the best way to provide feedback or whatever your topic is. So there are some different layouts that you can actually do in here as well. If you have a lynda.com account, we provide out to employees. We linked right out to those. Some more content areas that we don't have to produce. We can actually pull from content resources that we have. So these are pretty nice to have. All tying into Brittany's feedback. And at the end, your directions, fill out your survey, and anything else that you would want to provide there. So that's just kind of a high-level overview of RISE. If we do a face-to-face on this piece, we probably could have Brittany come in and show how she really constructed a lot of this, because for some reason it's not letting me in yesterday and today to log into it. So that is one piece of Articulate 360 is you do interact with your Articulate account quite a bit. We'll show that here as well, both with our feedback piece and some of the content pieces. We got about 10 minutes here. So that was RISE. Articulate Review, I actually already have this open. So this is the Articulate Review window. Basically, when you publish out of your Articulate Storyline course, you have an option for your LMS, for web, or for review. And what review does is it creates a link, provides you this 360.articulate.com review, excuse me, and then a link to your course so that you can send this out to others on your design team, maybe your supervisor, your SME, whoever wants to review the course. And what's nice about this is you can see on the right side, if I log in, I can add comments directly to each slide. So as I progress through our menu to the different slides throughout the course, I can comment over here, Brian's eyes are closed a little, or, whatever you want to comment, or words misspelled, or something's out of place. You can comment slide by slide so that sometimes our SMEs send us a list of feedback of these things need updated. And it's like, well, what slide was that on? Or, if you've got 100 slides in a course, how do you figure it out? So this is a nice way so you know exactly what they're talking about, exactly what slide it's on. and where to go to find that feedback. You can have multiple courses here, so you can actually have, as many as you share out from your account that people can go look at.
But we're still on one course.
Yeah, we're still on
I
one
just
course.
sent you that. I just sent you that, just so they can see real time.
Oh, okay. So Susan actually just put that in. Hi, Michael. So we can see that comes in pretty quick. She just typed that, so the feedback is there in almost instantly. So that's pretty good for a tool like this. You can resolve the comments as you go through. So as you go through and make updates or changes, there is a resolve button. You can click it and say, that one's good. That way you can kind of keep track of what you have updated and haven't updated throughout the course. But I think just from us, when we first got this, when we first sent it out and started using it and then saw how the feedback came in, this was like one of the bigger sellers for the storyline piece for the 360 for us. Just because having to try that and Captivate in the past and those kind of things, it's been a good tool. Now, one thing, as you provide each of these feedbacks, it does send you an email. So that part, if you have a lot of feedback coming, it can really fill up an inbox pretty quick. So that's, I guess, maybe the only downside piece. You can adjust your project notifications, but if you start out straight out of the box and just kind of leave it and throw a course out there, you could find yourself with 50 to 80 email notices saying, Susan provided feedback, Brittany provided feedback, Sean provided feedback, and that could go over and over for quite a few comments. So depending on how big your course is. So something to think about on that piece. You want to probably go in and change to a different activity amount for what they're going to send you each day. But that, in a gist, is the feedback piece for Articulate Review. And we're going to pause that. I'm going to go out to the content library real quick.
Did you show them like videos and icons within 360?
Just video, yeah.
What you can import that comes packaged.
Oh, no. Yeah, we can show some of that on
That's
here
kinda
too.
Nice too.
Yeah. So this is the content page, which in the past you've probably seen the tabs in Storyline and Captivate where they offer usually some characters, either photos or graphic drawings or animated images. Those have been kind of the typical content that's been included. They've expanded that greatly. So they have a nice way to lay this out. What are the favorite ones that people are really using a lot of? And then what are the different template sets? So you can actually have a template for your different pieces that you're developing. And then you can see kind of the old typical photographic and illustrated characters that it includes. Those are all included here. And there's a lot of content here. It's quite surprising how much is in here. And then that's kind of our featured. You can select through your templates and characters and really narrow down a little bit more what you're looking for. If you're just kind of, stuck on what kind of layout do I want to do, I'll come out here and just kind of look through these and see what other ideas people had, and just kind of get different ideas, get a little more creative in your layout of your course or Rise page or whatever you're working on. Mine's clicking a little slow. They also made this a lot easier to navigate, so you can select what kind of character you might be looking for. So male, business casual, 40s to 50s. It used to be you were just scrolling through the images and looking for whatever it is you might be looking for. So they've made that search feature a lot nicer, because as you can see, just kind of scrolling down, there's lots of images, lots of different options. Then you can get into different facial expressions, different kind of body language, which way they're standing, sitting, all of those things. So, and then images and videos. They do have quite a big library of both here. We're pretty fortunate. We do a lot of project photography. Like I said, we have a photography and video group, so we usually try to pull from those. But if you don't have that and you need some of those medias, this is a great place to go out and look for those. Their videos are HD, which is nice, but they're also scaled down for the web, so they play the way they should. You don't see a lot of pixelation or anything like that throughout your videos. So that's the content library that comes with it. Quite a bit more than what you've typically seen in the past from both Articulate or Captivate. So that's been kind of a nice piece. I know both have been adding more and more each. Captivate's tied with eLearning Brothers, so they have a pretty good content library. But that's all included. And the last piece I'm going to show in this here is the training options. So, like I said earlier, there is upcoming webinars, as you can see, almost on about an every other day aspect on different aspects of the Articulate 360 package. So you can see we've got training on Rise for mobile, some quick tips and tricks, interactions, animations, and you see some of these they break down because they get pretty in depth with the animation ones. So there's a lot of training in here, and these are all free. You can sign up for all these with your account. You could be sitting through a training each day over lunch or something. But that's a lot of, feedback and resources from the people that developed the program and that really interact with the users of it. If you're a part of the Articulate community, you'll see that there's a lot of great sharing, a lot of others that can answer questions for you. It's not, you're not submitting a question to a help desk. You're submitting out to a community that really is pretty involved and pretty helpful and eager to share. And we have a resource library that we've created here full of backgrounds, templates, a lot of things that other people have shared that we've used in courses that have worked for different topics we've been training on. And that's great because that saves you a ton of time. Or if you're trying to do something similar, you can go out and just see how they built it, like a navigation or something in a course or an interaction, and be able to apply that to a course that you're working on. So a lot of kind of great features in there. So that, in a nutshell, is the Articulate 360 group. As I mentioned earlier, if you maybe jumped on the call a couple minutes late, this bottom one under iPad, Prezzo, is an application you can download to your iPad and kind of develop a minimalistic type e-learning course, maybe some graphics and some of those kind of things. It's not a full-blown, you're building in storyline, but it's something if you were trying to do something on the fly or quick, they're kind of just starting getting into that area where developing on an iPad is possible. So that's something you can check out too. The nice thing about this is if you do a 30-day trial of Articulate 360, you get full version of everything. So you can dive into each one of these pieces and really see what each piece does. Try out some of your own content or your own courses, or try to jump into a Rise page or Rise book or whatever. See what some of those trainings are like, and really kind of see everything that you get within the package. I see some hands raised. It looks like we've got some questions already. So what I may do is open us up here. Oh, and the question's from Susan.
Me?
Or is that you? Maybe not. Oh, Brittany, another sample for Rise. I need to open this up a little bit here. Okay. So some of our comments, questions. The feedback by slide layer as well as just by slide, this is still way better than the emails full of screenshots we've been doing. Mm-hmm. That is true. I do remember way back. We would literally, we had a team member who would screenshot every single slide and draw on it and like circle or type into the slide. the feedback of the updates or changes for that slide. So yes, Jen, that's definitely a much nicer way of doing it. Yeah, the emails get annoying if you don't set your preferences right, but that's definitely a much better way to go. We've got a couple of samples, and Brittany, what I'll probably do with these is I'll put these links in the video. So we'll share this out through ATD's social media pieces, and we can actually share these with them. Yeah, and that's the other thing is the review is collaborative, so everyone can see your comments. Susan just mentioned that. So it's your whole design team. You can see what everybody's comments are. So if you have the same comment, you don't go and make the same one as everybody else. So that's kind of nice. If somebody else has already covered it, you can be like, okay, Susan had this one, move on to the next. And that way, if you see people miss things, you can also, call that out as well. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and got all our questions. We don't have any questions in the question box. If you've got a question, raise your hand. I'll unmute you. Got about 12 of us on the call, so I don't want to get us too loud and crazy. But how many, after kind of seeing a high-level overview, think that Articulate would be worth the cost with some of the different features that are in there? Raise your hand. Julie, Sarah, a couple of our people that are just getting into e-learning, so that's a good thing. Well, we don't have a whole lot of questions coming through. Melody, I've got you unmuted. Any closing comments or anything? I'm available. Susan's available. Our team is readily available. If people have questions, we love to kind of meet up with other people in the e-learning community and share thoughts and ideas. And that's kind of the whole reason for this group. So as we get into this, use this as resources for questions or help or ideas. So we've got a lot of good people in this group with good experience, so that's a good thing. A lot through ATD, so